She's a fighter, got that fire. When you thought she'd fade away, throws a fist up as she gets up, feeling stronger every day. When she gets down on her knees, she finds the courage to believe. She's a fighter who inspires me.
Hi, welcome to this episode of Inspired with Takia LaShawn. I'm your host, Takia LaShawn Smith, and in this new episode, we are going to focus on inspiration, women's empowerment, and all things beautiful. As you know, I've been a guest host of WHHI-TV for the last 2 years and have had the phenomenal opportunity of doing so many things here in Beaufort County with so many wonderful people. Inspired with Takia LaShawn seeks to uplift, encourage, empower, and just reach lives to make change and inspire hope. In this episode, we're going to feature Brittany Hiller of Brittany Hiller Yoga. But before we get started, I want to take you on a journey. Imagine a young lady, a child. Ever since I was a child, as far back as I can remember, I've always been told, Takia, you talk too much. Takia, you have so much to say. Takia, Takia, Takia. So exactly what we're doing here is going to talk. We're going to use this as a platform, as a media outlet to change lives. Now, let's start with my story, just so I can introduce myself to you, the viewer, so you understand my purpose, you understand my passion, you understand my vision, and what inspired means to me. Several years ago, not very long ago, 8 years ago to be exact, I myself was homeless. Many of you around Beaufort County may know my story. Many of you may not know my story. But I'm a mother of two, a single mother. I'm a survivor, and I am definitely have become a women's advocate. I found myself in a situation, in a relationship, made some bad choices, some bad decisions that caused me to get in a relationship that was not healthy. It did not produce a conducive environment that was good for my children and I. The end result of escaping that relationship was homelessness. I'd found myself in a position of helplessness and hopelessness, and the only way out was to leave everything behind. Everything which meant my business, everything which meant my home, everything which meant my vehicles. But I knew that in order to have a fresh start, what I needed to do was to leave. Unfortunately, again, we ended up homeless. We ended up living in a barn right here in Beaufort County. A lot of people never knew this. A lot of people never knew my story. A lot of people never knew the trials that I was enduring or what I was going through. All they knew was I kept a smile on my face and I continued to live my life as best as I could, which meant attending church, working, holding down a job. But at the end of every day, I and my children went home and slept in a horse trailer. We'll get more in detail as far as how this came about, where the barn was. A lot of people might be asking, well, whose barn did you live in? Those are not the important things. The important factors in this story is that I overcame, and I basically took everything that I went through and everything that I endured. Instead of giving up and giving in and calling it quits, I determined and purposed that I was going to use my story to create a pathway to my own personal success. And in the pain that I've experienced in the past, what I've done is created this platform here, Inspired with Takia LaShawn, so that I can reach lives, share stories. And on my panel, what I intend to do is have women that have overcome, women that have endured and succeeded in defeating all odds, whether it be terminal illness, addiction, drug abuse, alcohol, divorce, survivors. So the sky's the limit, but the women on this show are overcomers, they are fighters, they are survivors. They are women right here in Beaufort County and the surrounding area that faces that you see every day. They're mothers, they're daughters, they're your sisters, they're your friends, they're your bosses. They may be just the girl next door, but you never know the story that every woman has. And we want to share our stories. And again, just to touch your life, inspire you, and encourage you. When you look up the word inspire, it means to breathe into, to give life, to promote. And so as we seek to inspire you, We hope that in watching these shows that you will be touched and your life will be changed for the better. Now, getting back to my story. Basically, I am now an author, an entrepreneur, a mentor, a columnist, and now a TV talk show host. It's been a phenomenal path. It's been ups, it's been downs, lots of tears, a lot of pain, a lot of struggles, a lot of joy, and a lot of happiness. But I have come to love and not resent my past. I have come to be honored to be someone that can be placed in front of you to share my story, to tell you what I've been through, to show you that you don't have to give up, that you don't have to quit, that you don't have to give in, and to know that if I did it with all odds stacked against me, because believe me, they were stacked against me, my being homeless is just the tip of the iceberg. Again, I'm a survivor. I escaped an abusive relationship. I've gone through a lot of things in my childhood. I've made a lot of bad decisions, a lot of bad choices, but I used them for the better so that, again, God can bring me to this moment right here to share with you and touch your heart and, again, change your life. Thank you so much for tuning into this first episode. I really appreciate the views. I pray that you, again, are inspired, that your life is touched for the better. I want you to know that this is going to be a form of outreach, not just a sit back and watch as we tell our stories, but we want the viewers, again, to be interactive. We're going to have outreach within the community, businesses. You may be a business owner that's sitting watching saying, how can I plug in? How can I help? How can I give back? We want to have outreach because not only do we want to share our story, but it is our hope that, again, you have a way and a platform and a way that someone can come to you and help you to change yourself. Whether it be helping you to get out of a situation where you may be enduring one of the obstacles that I mentioned. I may not have mentioned your obstacle. Again, everyone has a story, and we just want you to know that you are not alone. I want you to know that you are not alone. There's always hope. I've once heard it said that we should never leave a person in the way that we found them. We can look at that in two ways, to the negative or to the positive. If you were to meet someone on the street and they were struggling, hurting, homeless, without clothes, hungry, would you walk away and leave them? Or would you offer them money, food, shelter, even a hug? What about just a smile? You never know how far just telling someone, acknowledging them, saying, hey, I'm thinking about you, can really uplift and encourage someone. We can also use that's in the positive sense. We can also use it to the negative. If you were to meet someone in that same situation, would you look the other way? Would you ignore them? Would you pretend you didn't see it? I pray that it would be the former and not the latter. So again, that's what Inspired with Takia LaShawn seeks to do. I will not look the other way. I thank you again so much for tuning in. I just pray that your lives will be changed for the better. If there's anyone that you know, maybe your life is great, maybe you're good, maybe it's wonderful, don't change the channel, pass it along, get the word out, let people know what we are doing here. And we, again, are just really excited. I am personally excited just to create an atmosphere that is conducive to expanding your horizons, uplifting you, giving you the strength that you need, and just telling you you're going to make it, you're going to be okay, because I did. Welcome back. We are now joined by Brittany Hiller of Brittany Hiller Yoga. Brittany, how are you?
Good. How are you, Takia?
Good, thank you. So I am so pleased to have you here on this very first episode. We have been counting down the months, and you have just stuck with me from beginning. And I'm very excited to have you. I'm honored to have you as my first guest here.
Thank you.
Thank
I'm
you.
excited to be here. I
Good.
appreciate the honor of being the first one on your awesome tour.
Well, let's talk a little bit. Well, first of all, for those that do not know Brittany, Brittany, again, is the owner of Brittany Hiller Yoga. Brittany is a wellness practitioner who specializes in yoga, massage, and children's yoga therapy. She is the author of the children's book, The Little Laughing Yogini, which I absolutely love. If you don't know what laughter yoga is, you absolutely have to try it out with Brittany. It's hilarious, literally. The Little Laughing Yogini is a short story, an inspiring story of a child who teaching children to follow their heart. She's the owner of Brittany Hiller Yoga, which we said, and she's the creator of Little Yogini Play Shops, a program developed to bring yoga to elementary schools. And again, welcome, Brittany. So now that we've got the formalities out the way, Brittany, again, I will share my experience with having Brittany here on the show, and what inspired me to have her here is Brittany and I have known each other for about 5 years in business, as associates, and as friends. And what really shocked me about Brittany is we met one morning to have breakfast, and I was actually talking to Brittany about this show, and I was just sharing my passion and my vision for the show with Brittany. And we just got to talking, and literally over breakfast, she drops this bombshell on me and shares her story, which again is completely what Inspired is about. You think you know, just when you think you know a person, and then you find out, I didn't know that.
Right.
And so I literally got chills when Brittany shared her story with me, and I said, you know what, I want you to be on the first episode. So just to, Brittany and I are always all laughter, all smiles, and that's what also got my attention with Brittany, is because, again, in knowing her for 5 years, I've never seen her crack a frown. I've never seen her throw anything.
That's true.
I have never seen her just not in a good mood with this gorgeous smile. Never, ever, ever. And so just to hear her story really touched me. And so we want to go into that story. Brittany is a very selfless, very giving individual, as you can see through her play shops and what she's done. And just to hear her story is very empowering and touching. And again, I'm honored. So I just, would like for you to share with me and share with viewers your story of overcoming and getting to the place that you are now.
Certainly. Well, it began in my early 20s. We have these times in our life where we do things and we learn from them. Well, my situation ended up being I was on a date with a friend, and it turned out unfortunate events occurred, and from that situation, I became pregnant. And this pregnancy, I went 2 months completely unaware, unknowing, and just in doubt. And then once the 3rd month rolled around, I realized really quickly, okay, I'm pregnant. There's something happening here. But I was completely detached from my body to the point that I didn't go about my life as if I was pregnant, if that makes any sense. I completely shut down from the ability to even think that this was happening to me. And through that detachment, though, created this entire world within me where I was just going about my day, normal life, like, God's going to take care of this, God's going to take care of this, there's nothing going on here, this isn't happening to me, this never happened to me. And what happened eventually is my belly kept growing and the detachment kept occurring. Nobody at my work knew, nobody in my family knew, until I was 7 months pregnant, and I finally came out to my sister, and I was just like, I don't know what to do. I had called an abortion clinic because I didn't know. I was like, maybe I'll do that. I had friends who had that in their life, and they referred me to a place, and I called them, and they said, we're sorry, but you're too far along. And I was like, oh, God. Through my beautiful aspects of church and learning through Life Teen, I realized that was not what I wanted to do. I did not want to do a partial birth. And so I was like, my next step is adoption. I mean, this baby's got to come out of me somehow, some way. And so when I had discussed this with my sister, she graciously, I would say, immediately said, okay, let's look at adoption agencies. She became my rock for me. And then my boyfriend at the time, unbeknownst to him, became my rock as well. And when I finally came out, because I was coming out to everyone, to my family and to my boyfriend, they said, they just held me in their arms and they accepted me. And that was so loving and gracious of him, especially because he could have easily said, I don't want anything to do with this, right, goodbye from my life. But he grasped my belly and was just like, there's a baby in there. Like, okay, what do we do now? What's our next step?
He literally was Joseph to your Mary.
Yeah.
Can you imagine what Joseph had to go through?
You're right.
Yeah.
Woo, crazy. It just gave me truth bumps. But But so from that experience, I turned to adoption, and adoption was my next best thing. And so immediately after 7 months, again, I've never been to the hospital. I didn't see anybody. I didn't go through anything with this pregnancy. It was literally just, this is God happening. Let's see what happens. And so 7 months going to the doctor and getting everything that needed. It was all really, really quick. Found a beautiful family that I could gift her to, and I was so excited for. And they told me, you know, these are the steps. We've done this already 3 times. This is what you need to receive as a birth mother. And I wasn't receiving that, trying to go through a closed adoption. So then when I went through open adoption, it was much more of a giving aspect. It was much more of a celebratory experience.
Right.
And I had my friends there when I had the baby. And it was a joyous and really, again, a celebratory experience that I learned in that experience, that through the hardship of the way that all of this was happening, that's 9 months of detachment from my physical body and from my experience and thinking, you know, this can't be happening to me. This can't be happening to me. But yet through all of that, I learned that it was just such a powerful experience to have this child, to gift this child to a family who was well-deserving and so loving and so wanting of something that I was not ready for in my life. Just not ready for it.
Well, and I think it's beautiful that you keep referring to the child as a gift. You know, the Bible tells us that children are a gift from God. And, you know, you mentioned unfortunate circumstances. And, you know, to viewers that don't know, it was an assault. And it was an unfortunate circumstance, but again, just listening to you refer to the child as a gift, it's absolutely biblical. A lot of times we think that, you know, and I would say rightfully so, you would have felt justified in your thinking that, okay, this is not what I planned, this is not how a child should, you know, being detached and not feeling like this is, but you chose life. And so I think that speaks mounds to your faith. I think it speaks mounds to just honoring the gift in children that God says they are, and you were able to be a blessing to another family. And I think that just speaks so beautifully of your testimony. While you were going through this, you said, you know, detached for, you know, an individual that may have experienced or may be going through the same thing, you know, what advice would you offer them? Could you share with us a little more about that and how, you know, I think it's amazing. And to the viewers, the boyfriend at the time, who was not the perpetrator, to clarify that, is now your husband, which is phenomenal. You know, that he stood by your side and went through this and endured it with you. But for viewers that are watching, you know, just going through that, you know, and again, to see how you are and to the smile and the joy and the laughter. I'm telling you, I about dropped my spoon when you started talking to me because I never knew. How do they get to this place? How do they find their peace?
That's a great question. I found mine purposely through the people around me, through my friends, through my family, the support. And if you feel that you don't have that support, my advice to you would be find that support. There are many advocacies. There are many, Hope Haven. There's just so many places that you can go to find support. And if it's not in your family, if you feel you don't have that, I would definitely turn to your friends, turn to some sort of support system, because ultimately I've learned it's not ourselves that build ourselves up, it's other people in our life that build ourselves up, and we can't do it alone as much as we wish we could. And that really was what was the turning point for me, was the amount of people that showed up for me in that really hard time, and was like, we're here for you, Brittany, we know that this happened, but we love you unconditionally and truly, and we want to support you, and we want to see you happy. We want to see you excel. And through that, especially with my husband, he is that person in my life. He always says, I support you. Whatever you do, no matter how crazy the idea is, I support you, and I love you, and let's see where it goes.
Which is great. A support system is something that so many people, that we all need, but so many of us do not have. And oftentimes in life, we find that when we are at the lowest points and the lowest moments of our lives, that is when you want to quit, give up, and give in. And so, again, it just speaks beautifully of who you are. It lines up perfectly with being here because this is what we want to do. These are the lives we want to reach, the lives we want to touch. And if you could sum up, if you had one, it doesn't have to be one, but that inspiring thing to viewers in your story or to share with them, what would that be?
The inspiring thing in my story, honestly, self-love, huge self-love, because through that whole entire experience, I had the opportunity that I could have just been completely letting myself down, letting myself go, and saying, like, how dare you? You set yourself up for this. You did this to yourself, you know.
Very good point.
You're giving up something. Other people are looking at you and saying, how dare she give up her child? And in my mind, it wasn't my child. It was somebody else's child.
Right.
And so to be able to have that real strong love for myself and understanding that I'm here for a reason and I'm here to help inspire others, and through my story I'm going to do just that. And
Absolutely.
so, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, one of my favorite, I wouldn't even necessarily call it a phrase, but that just inner knowing is there is purpose in the pain. You, from your pain, you have drawn so much purpose. You're able to reach and teach so many lives. And I think as overcomers and survivors, we can relate to this, that it was asked offset, you know, do I need to get tissue? Am I going to cry? And I thought, you know, Brittany and I are probably going to be, you know, crying up because when it becomes your purpose, it's no longer about you.
Exactly.
Again, self-love is actually selflessness. Yeah. So thank you, Brittany. We really appreciate you being on the show. I'm just excited for all you're doing. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode. We look forward to many more. Thank you, and we will see you soon.